Hey there, Aubrey. How's it going today?
I am excellent, Lindsay. I have a question for you.
Sure.
Have you read up on anything interesting lately?
That's a good question because my first thought is I started a new book, but that doesn't really answer the question. You're asking me, have you
No.
read up on anything? And
Yeah, so
it
this couldn't
telling
be like
you,
reading a novel, right?
no, it
No.
doesn't really answer the question. So yeah, I'm always reading up on the news, Aubrey, keeping
Okay.
keeping up to date on what's happening.
Okay, nice.
um,
Perfect. I
what
started
about you?
reading I know there's this kind of trendy popular theory. Mel Robbins wrote this book, The Let Them Theory, and my brother was really excited about it. So I started reading up on that theory and sort of anything related. So yeah, I've been
Ah.
reading up on the Let Them theory. Had you heard of it,
Interesting.
Lindsay?
I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is. Real quick,
Yeah,
what is it?
it's
Can you
sort of
summarize it?
just like instead of trying to change people's minds or control, just let them, right? Whatever they're going to do,
Yeah.
let them do it. Don't let it affect your attitude or your happiness, right? But it
Mhm.
definitely goes into it more because, sometimes and there's also like, let me. Okay, I'll let you, but also I need to let me do things that will help
I
me reach
see.
my goals, right?
Got it. All right. I'll have to
Interesting.
check. I'll have to read up on that, Aubrey. I'll have to read
There
up.
you go. Something to read up on. This is interesting. This phrase came up. We had a great question and we're
Mhm.
sharing some related phrases. Do you want to read the today's question for
Yes.
us?
This question came in from Yiget Kirkon, and Yiget says, the other day while I was talking to a friend from the US, I mentioned that I had to study a lot that night and didn't have much time. She replied, so you'll hit the books, which I find quite funny and interesting. It's a phrase I hadn't heard before. That's why I thought this might be an idea for your podcast. By the way, I recently discovered your podcast and I really enjoy listening to it. Oh, that's great to know, Aubrey, isn't it?
Yes, awesome. And I can totally see why this would seem like a really funny expression because
Right.
usually a hit is like a punch, or maybe you hit
Yeah.
something with your car. So it seems weird that there's this idiom, hit the book. So you imagine someone
Yeah.
literally hitting a book.
It
That's
does
not what it
seem weird.
means.
Totally agree. It's very strange. It's totally counterintuitive, and we'll get into it today. But first, guys, go ahead and hit this follow button. Hit that follow button. If you just found the show, maybe your friend recommended it to you, make sure you're following the show so you get new episodes 5 days a week. Okay.
And I see what you did there. Hit the follow button, like you hit the
Oh,
books. It's funny how
I
often we use
know.
hit when we don't
Yeah,
really
it's
mean
interesting.
to hit anything.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So, yeah, let's talk about this phrase, Aubrey, hit the books. What does
Yeah.
it
So
mean?
first, yeah, it means studying. It's very specific to schoolwork, right? If you are in classes, college, high school, and you have to study for an exam, you would
Mm-hmm.
say, I'm going to hit the books. If you're studying for the bar, right? For big exams, all that type of test, that's when we'd say, I'm going to hit the books if you just need to study a lot.
Yeah, okay, good stuff. I need to hit the books. I have an exam tomorrow, for example. Or again, he can't come to dinner. He's hitting the books tonight.
Yeah, but
Again,
what's
he's not
interesting, yeah, he's not literally hitting a book. It means he's studying. It's a funny way to say it. It's a very idiomatic. But it's
exactly.
interesting to think about, would you ever say this about work? Maybe if you had to read a lot of manuals or read some instructions, would you say I'm going to hit the books?
It's a good question. You really wouldn't. This is especially reserved for being a student in school. Even if you're a professional and you do study things, it just means you're in school. Hit the books.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Mhm.
where I said, have you read up on anything lately? That's because I know you're not in school. If I
Right.
knew you were registered, if you were doing a PhD, I
Mhm.
might say, have you been hitting the books lately? But where I
Right.
know you're not, I would
Yes.
say, have you been reading up on anything? Because we still study, we still research when we're
Yes.
not enrolled in school, but we don't hit the books.
Very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm taking an online course on Coursera right now, multiple ones about AI, how to prompt AI, how to do it. And that I still wouldn't say I'm hitting the books when it comes to AI. No, it doesn't work, Aubrey. It's a very
Right.
narrow phrase.
Right. You're reading up on it. That might be perfect for our next phrase here. We say
Mhm.
study up on.
Study up
This
on.
is more flexible. This means we're studying or researching anything. So you are studying up on AI.
Yeah. For example, here are some sample sentences. I don't know much about that politician's views. I need to study up on it. Yeah. So you might do this before a big election. If you're not really
Mhm.
tuned in all the time, you need to
Yeah. Or
study up on
she's
the
been
views. Mhm.
studying up on emotional intelligence. I've been studying up on the let them theory, right? So this, you
Yes.
don't have to be officially enrolled in any schooling. Anything you're researching or studying about, you could use this.
Yes, I love it. And then we move on to read up on. Now, Aubrey, what is the difference between study up on and read up on?
Yeah, these can be pretty synonymous,
Yeah.
right? If you could say you're reading up on AI, if you are reading a lot about it, reading articles, if you're reading the news, right? This
Mhm.
if you study up on is more for something you're really researching, diving into, trying to study about, whereas read
Right.
up on just means you're reading a lot about it.
It's a little more narrow, right? Maybe the umbrella term is study up on, which you could be reading up on it, but you also could be, I don't know, taking quizzes or something.
Exactly, right? Whereas if
Mhm.
you're just reading a lot about it, then you wouldn't say study up on, just
Yes.
reading up on it. For example, she's been reading up on emotional intelligence, right? Same thing. This just means maybe she's reading a lot of articles.
Mhm. Oh, and here we have an AI example. Love it.
Nice.
I need to read up on AI. I feel like there's a lot I don't know about it. Right.
Yeah, so
Yes.
these are pretty interchangeable, pretty synonymous, just anything you're
Mhm.
reading a lot about, studying about, researching online maybe.
Yeah, and I like the next one. Aubrey, did you used to cram for tests
Yes,
in
absolutely.
school?
I was really bad at procrastinating, and then the night before an exam, I'd be up all night long cramming.
Yeah, it's so bad. It's a common habit of high school kids, right? They don't pay attention during the semester, and then the night before we have to jam everything in our brains, and then we let it all out after we take the test.
Exactly, right? This just means to study a lot at once, usually after procrastinating.
Mhm.
But this is a little more flexible, right? Hitting the books is just about like schooling. If you also are supposed to give a presentation at work and you procrastinate it, then you could say, I'm going to have to cram tonight. There's a lot I have to learn before I write these slides, for example, something you're
Yeah,
doing
but
last minute.
I think it's important though because cramming is about the act of getting information into your brain. So if you're cramming to get the info in your brain to then present it, that works. But if you're
Exactly,
just
right?
hustling on the presentation, that would be another verb, right, Aubrey?
Right, but this if there's a bunch you have to read before
Mhm.
you create the
Right.
slides, yes,
Right.
there's a you could
Mhm.
cram last minute for that, yeah.
Yep, yep, really important to know that difference there. Good. We'll take a quick break and then we'll be back. All right, Aubrey, role play time here. We are classmates in this role play. Okay.
Alright, you wanna start us out?
Mm-hmm. A few of us are hitting the books at a study session tonight. If you want to come,
Oh, thanks, I might take you up on that. I've got some serious cramming to do.
what are you writing your thesis on?
Gender identity. I've been studying up on how much one's gender affects their sense of self.
Interesting. That's definitely something I'd like to read up on. Can I read your paper when it's finished?
Absolutely.
Nice, nice.
Nice, so I definitely had to make us students here so that we could use hitting the books.
Oh, yep, and that proves it, right? It just doesn't apply unless you're a student in a program.
Exactly. So you
Mhm,
started us out by saying a few of us are hitting the books at a study session tonight. So you were inviting me, just meaning we're going to study together.
mhm, and then you said, thanks, I might take you up on that. I've got some serious cramming to do, so you need to jam all this information into your head."
Exactly. I probably have been procrastinating. I'm not like, I'm good. I'm ready. I've been studying. No, I've got some
No.
cramming to do.
Oh my god. Did you used to get nervous, Aubrey, for tests before you would take them in school?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes. I remember
sure.
the most nervous I ever was. Someone told me they had taken the class before and they
Mhm.
said, if you're confident with your grade, this teacher doesn't make you take the final. He says, go, you don't have to take it. So I didn't study at all. And I went the
Oh.
last day, but I was like, what if that student was wrong? And I find out
Oh.
I have to take the final. I hadn't studied at all. But then he was right. He was like, if you're
Oh,
happy with your
thank
grade, you don't
goodness.
have to take it. I saved all that time. I was so happy.
Oh my gosh. Rumors, right? Good thing it was
Yeah,
true. Good thing it was
I
true.
know, right? Because I risked it there. It was kind of a
That was
gamble.
risky. Yeah,
Yeah.
gamble. All right. What did you say next, Aubrey?
All right. So then you were asking what I'm writing my thesis on.
Mhm.
And let's see, you said that's definitely something I'd like to read up on. So, wait,
Yes.
before that,
Oh,
you said, I
what?
said, I've been studying up on how much one's gender affects their sense of self. So this
Mhm.
is interesting. There is a little bit of a nuance here.
Yeah.
This implies that I am really researching. I'm studying, I'm looking at studies, case studies, maybe, right? I'm
Yeah.
diving into the material more to understand something rather than just reading articles, for example.
Yeah, it's kind of like, when you write a paper, like you write a master's thesis or a PhD, you do a literature review, right? You have to do that whole
Right.
process where you review what's already been written. That would be a context to use, studying up
Exactly.
on, right?
Right, you might even be creating studies, surveys, and
Mhm.
having to get input that way, right?
Mhm.
Whereas read up on is what you said next, and that would just mean more like, I would like to read a lot about that. You said that's definitely something I'd like to read up on.
All right, excellent. Aubrey, where should we leave our listeners for today's episode? I like this theme, the theme of these words, because it's about staying up to date on things. It's about lifelong learning in a sense, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. We should all be lifelong learners, right? I know you guys are curious about the world. There's certainly something you are studying up on, reading up on. And I'm also glad to be really grateful for this question because you could see how this would be confusing. You might accidentally ask someone at work if they're hitting the books when they need to read a lot for a project. So it's good to know that that's very specific to studies, schooling that you would be enrolled in.
Yeah, but keep in mind, if you're a professional and you're in like night school, you could hit the books, right? That's the
Absolutely.
other piece. As long as you're enrolled in a formal academic endeavor, that's the difference with hit the books, I think, Aubrey. Yeah,
Yes, exactly. And then for everything else, you can study up on it. We're reading up on it as we continue to, yeah, be lifelong learners.
you got it. All right, good stuff, guys. Hit the follow button if you want to be a lifelong learner with us, with All Ears English right here. And Aubrey, I'll see you back here very soon. All right.
Awesome. See you next
All right.
time.
Good stuff. Bye.
Bye.